Hello everyone, today we have a 2009 Nissan Altima. We're gonna do a transmission fluid change and a gasket, oil pan gasket seal. We're gonna use, it's a CVT transmission. We're gonna use original fluid. It takes about some quarts. Plus we have an original seal for the transmission pan. That's the gasket. This is the gasket. And this gasket is gonna go, we're gonna remove all these bolts all around the pan, all of them. We're gonna remove this pan, the fluid is gonna come out, and then we're gonna replace the gasket and put in a new original fluid. This one doesn't have any drainer, so the only way to take out the fluid out of this is either you can use a machine or you can remove the pan and change the gasket inside. Okay, first we're gonna remove and loosen all the bolts. Okay, now we have removed most of the bolts. We left a few bolts in there so that way we can slowly let this pan come down and all the fluid will slowly come down. And the lowest point is the back of the transmission. Make sure you always have a good bucket to catch the fluid in, and make sure it's a big and round one so you don't make a mess on the floor. So we're gonna remove the back bolt slowly. Get it. We're gonna loosen the back bolts a little bit so the pan can loosen up a little bit and release the fluid. This is a CVT transmission. It's very important to maintain this transmission. A lot of people don't change no fluid and over time it just dies out. But if you maintain it very well, this can last you for a long time. This goes up to 200 to 300,000 miles and they're very good transmissions. So we're going to loosen up the rest of the bolts a little. Alright, now we're going to release the pan some more. There you go, good job.
I was expecting that. But that's okay.
Don't do what this guy just did, okay? He loosened the bolt a little bit too much in the back and he tried to have me flooded.
That's a good shower.
Good shower. I need soap with that. That transmission fluid is like a detergent. He wants to laundry my clothes.
Now we wait a little bit more.
No waiting, you already made a big mess. Continue. You guys gonna learn from what kind of mistakes we make.
This guy.
So the mistake this guy made was he loosened that bolt little too much. Too much a gap. It still has fluid, so be careful. You gotta put your hand on it.
Yeah, I only have one left.
So it's a good idea to put your hand under it like that, under the pan, and loosen the bolts and just put the pan down in there. So after this last bolt, we should be able to put the pan down to the floor. There comes the pan. Okay, now we have the pan out. We're gonna clean the little magnets inside, and we're gonna put everything back together with the new gasket. Alright, now we're gonna remove the gasket. Then we're gonna clean the surface on the transmission. You can use a flathead screwdriver, just push the gasket off and it should peel right off. You always want to put a new gasket because it will leak if you don't. Make sure you clean the surface so the new seal can sit nice and clean.
We're using a blade.
You can use a blade or a scraper a little bit, and that should help you clean up the seal surface. So we're gonna clean this and come right back and then show you guys the both clean surfaces on the pan and this, and then install it with the new gasket. Okay, so on the oil pan we're gonna clean this surface all around, and this magnet we're gonna clean all that, the build up there. That's all the broken stuff inside the transmission. Now we have the magnets clean and the oil pan surface is clean, and also the transmission surface is clean. We're gonna install the new gasket and put this pan up, and we're gonna continue the job. Okay, once you have the gasket on the pan, make sure each hole aligns with the pan and the seal, and then we're gonna take this pan and put it back up. Here comes the pan. You can try to get one bolt in there first. Once you get one bolt up in, it should hold itself up, and then you can manage to get the rest of the bolts in there. We're gonna put one more bolt on the opposite side so everything aligns. Now we're gonna get the rest of the bolts in there. Once we have them all in there, we're gonna tighten it in a series sequence, crisscross, and get the job done properly, and make sure the pan and the gasket is nice and sealed.
The corner.
Once you have all the bolts in, you want to make sure you get them all snugged in, and after that you can torque them. You always have to get crisscross. If you do this one, you will do that one, that one, that one, this one, that one, so that way the pressure goes straight equally to the whole pan. So we're gonna snug these bolts in, and then we're gonna torque them to the proper spec, and then we're gonna come back and clean this, and then we're gonna bring the car back down and put the fluid in. Now all the bolts are tightened to the proper spec. We're gonna clean the bottom of the transmission, and then we're gonna bring the car down and put the fluid in. You wanna take some brake cleaner, you can spray that on. That's a parts cleaner. Take a clean rag, wipe it down. You always want to clean after the job. One, it makes it look clean and nice. Secondly, if there's any leaks, you can see when the car comes back. And if the customer goes home and parks in the driveway, he doesn't want to see no drops of oil. So So this is nice and clean now. We're gonna bring the car down and let's put the fluid in. Okay, to put a fluid in, if you're gonna remove the dipstick, it has a small clip. Once you have the clip removed, you can pull the dipstick off. You're gonna use a clean funnel. When we took out the fluid out of this transmission by removing the oil pan, we measured this, came out about 5.5 quarts. So we're gonna measure the measured amount. We're gonna put that back in the transmission, and after that we're gonna run the car and double check it and level out the fluid once it's nice and hot. You always want to use the original fluid for the CVT transmissions. So this is the first quart. Second quart. That's number 3. And number 4. And then number 5. I'm gonna pull half a more quart. So this is 5.5. After this, we're gonna check the fluid with the dipstick, and then we're gonna let the car run, make sure the transmission is nice and hot, and double check it again. And we're gonna let this car sit for a few minutes so all the fluid can go down. Car is running, we're gonna check the transmission fluid. After that, we're gonna let it get nice and hot so it's up to the right temperature. Let's see what kind of fluid reading it's giving right now.
A little bit low.
It's a little bit low, but we're gonna let it get nice and hot. The fluid should expand and come to level. And that's how you do a transmission flush on a 2009 Nissan Altima.
Bada bing, bada boom.